First off, though, before we get started with our faculty, brief introduction. I want you guys to meet Mallory. She is our Career Center liaison for the liberal arts, and she is going to talk to you real quickly about what she does. It's another great resource for you on campus. Also, I'm going to be handing out these slips. Write your name on it. We're going to be doing some drawings for prizes later on. Pass them to that end as you're done, and I'll come and collect them. Okay?
Perfect. Well, good afternoon. My name is Mallory Beecraft, and I lead the career counseling team for liberal arts students. So our office is located in the Student Center. Have any of you all been to the new Student Center and checked it out? Yes, so we are located on the first floor of the Student Center, and I wanted to just take a couple minutes to introduce myself and let you know about some of the resources that we have available. So at this point in your career, most of you are probably juniors and seniors, I think. Head nods. Yes, great. And so at this point, thinking about internships is a really important part of your college experience. 50% of all employers nationwide are saying that they like to see 2 internships on an applicant's resume by the time they're applying for full-time employment. So I don't say that to stress you out. I say that to get you excited to think about opportunities and trying to nail down at least one internship or part-time job related to what you want to go into prior to the time you graduate CSU. That's my goal, and that's what we're here to help you with. So we are available. There's 3 of us who work with College of Liberal Arts students. Feel free to call our office. I'll be handing out forms that have my information on it. Contact information is listed at the bottom. And you're welcome to set up an appointment just to chat about internship, job search, resume, interviewing, all those sorts of things that are important to you at this point in your college career. Another thing, I just wanted to kind of give you a brief announcement to let you be the first ones to know that our office is also putting on a Colorado industry tour experience. They'll be taking place the first week in February, and it is geared towards marketing, communications, PR type folks. So what that means is we're going to be going to 3 different employers in the Denver area for a professional field trip, where you get the opportunity to network with leaders in the field who are excited to engage with college students. We had one last Friday. It was amazing. Students were connecting with some really great folks. But this one will be geared especially towards you all. So keep that in mind. In the beginning of spring semester, there will be a registration link on our website. We only take 30 students, so I want you all to know about it first, since this seems like a pretty relevant audience. So, like I said, feel free to set up an appointment. I'd love to meet with you all, or the other folks in our office would be happy to as well. I will hand these out, and if you'd like one, feel free to take one. Thanks.
Thank you, Mallory. One other thing, just so you know, Jesse and I will be available after this in our offices in Clark. So if you have questions for like the last 30 minutes after this goes on, feel free to come upstairs. And I don't know if you guys have an order. Kim, are you?
Well, I'll take it right here. Thank you. So I'm Kim Spencer. I know a lot of you know me, have me for class this semester already. Lucky you, you get to hear me again today. For those of you who do know me, know that I've spent most of my life either writing for a living or teaching about writing and editing and designing for a living. And so I'm a big proponent of being a good writer and good communicator. And if you haven't already been sold on that idea, I'm going to attempt further to do that, to convince you what a great life and job it can be. So why be a writer? Writers are really interesting people in general because they make everything into a story, even funny things. And those of you who are in my classes know this. Pretty much every day I have a story. Sometimes it has something to do with class and sometimes it doesn't. But there actually is a point to storytelling, and that is that you learn how to communicate things that happen to an audience in an interesting way, because there's a lot more to reporting a story than simply going out, writing down the facts and spilling them back out. It's how do I tell this without making things up or emphasizing the wrong things and that type of thing. But engaging your audience, being a good communicator, it's a very important job. It's also very fun and fulfilling if you find a career that allows you to do that. So, yeah, just a funny little cartoon about everyone's perspective being a little bit different. But I've always said, and I firmly believe this, that no matter how good or bad an experience is, I gauge it by how good a story it's going to be later. And if it means I have a good story to tell later, okay, I'll deal with it, even if it means getting rear-ended on Laurel at House. It was a great story. Some of my students even happened to walk by and take pictures and put it on Snapchat. Yay! So it's documented forever. Good for them for being journalists. Also, they're very creative, imaginative people, and they oftentimes create new ways of looking at things or thinking about things. I think writers' brains tend to work differently from a lot of other people's brains. Whether that's good or bad, it just is. And I know you guys probably know this when you've tried to communicate with someone who tends to be more of a logical, sequential thinker, and you're having a communication that's just sort of going like this. And honestly, it's really up to us to kind of bridge that gap and figure out how to communicate messages to everybody. And I know these ladies are going to talk about communicating messages in different venues from what I'm talking about. You get to work in some really cool places if you're a writer, reporter. Some of you I know are into sports. We have several grads who are now covering sports for their professional jobs, and they love it, and they will tell you that. I'm sure they have bad days, but most of the days they go to work loving their jobs, and there's a lot to be said for that. I know it's important to make a living, but it's almost more important that you like what you do, because even if you're well paid and you hate it every day, you won't last at it. So when your parents say, why don't you choose a career where you're going to make da-da-da money, you know, be an accountant or be a doctor or whatever, if that's not your bent, if it's not your passion, you're probably not going to enjoy it or feel successful at it anyway. So trying to find a combination of doing what you're good at, what you have a passion for, and then somehow also pay the bills, that's a good combination. And sometimes it takes a little creativity, but it can happen. So lots of interesting places. Some people even get to work from home if you like that kind of thing. I find I'm not as productive when I work at home because I get easily distracted. But you know, you can work at home with a lot of jobs nowadays because of technology. So it is an option if you prefer that. But you can also travel, work with other people, do lots of other things. And you come up with some really nice projects as a result of what you do, whether it's photography, writing, design, whatever type of video, anything you like to do. You get to see the results and share that with other people. And that's really the cool part, is when you do something and then you hear from people and they say, oh wow, that was really nice. I learned something, or it changed my mind on something. Or I needed some information and I went to something you created and it helped me find the information I needed. It was there, it was accurate. That's a good feeling. You know, along with all the other negative stuff that you hear as a writer, you kind of have to balance it out with those positives. You can educate, inform, entertain. There are all kinds of different venues you can go into depending on what you're interested in. You know, it doesn't have to be the straightforward, I'm a reporter. You can be various types of writers, you know, whether that's entertainment, sports, more serious things like covering Ebola. That's a pretty important job right now. Getting information out there that's factual, making people aware of what's happening, what they should and shouldn't be doing, all that kind of thing. So what kind of skills do you need to be a good communicator, good writer? I don't think I'm supposed to answer that right. You need to be a good writer first and foremost. And I know, you know, well, I don't want to be a writer, I'm going to be da-da-da. It's an important skill because if you're a good writer, you learn how to take that information and put it in a succinct, understandable way that people can get something out of it. And along with being a good writer, you also learn to be a good speaker. It's all a part of the same skill process where you learn how to take a lot of information, take what's important, and then give it back to your audience. And then also interviewing, one-on-one, asking questions, being able to engage people and get information from them that you need to get the important stuff. There's a really important skill there that people don't realize. It's not just going in with a list of questions and a paper and pencil and firing questions at somebody. Good interviewers elicit a lot more information than somebody who just goes in with an agenda and says, here's what I need to know. Nobody likes to be put on the spot like that. We all like to kind of have a conversation, feel like we're being heard as well as asked questions. And if you want to really develop your interviewing skills, let someone else interview you so that you know what it feels like to be on the other end of that. It's intimidating. I don't care how many times you've done it. The first time somebody's interviewing you and you know it's going to be written down or broadcast, or it's intimidating because you think, wonder, did I say that right? Did I say something I shouldn't have? You know, I often say things that probably aren't appropriate to be published in a newspaper or put on television. And in a classroom that works well because that's where it ends. But you know, when you're being interviewed, you're nervous about how do I say this in a way that's appropriate, and I'm not going to be later really in big trouble for saying that. So how do you get a job? Let's say you decide, yeah, this really sounds like a lot of fun. I know a lot of you have already made up your minds about what you think you want to do. So what's the next step? How do I go about making a life, making a career out of this skill that I've acquired? First of all, you want to start preparing early, and that means class selection. And I know a lot of you get to the point where you're just like, what class fits in? Is it me?
Up against it. It's a political call.
Okay. They're telling me who to vote for. Start taking the right classes, and sometimes that's inconvenient because the class isn't offered, you know, on a Tuesday, Thursday when all your other classes are. You might actually have to expand and come every day or something. I know, it's awful. Believe me, I understand that thinking. I prefer only to come on Tuesdays and Thursdays too, but it doesn't always work out that way. Here I am on a Friday. You know, it happens. I once had a student come in for advising, and she said, I don't care what I take, I just don't want any classes before noon. And I really just like dancing classes. And I said, and you're a journalism major. Why are you here? Well, I think I'm going to change my major. I said, okay. So it really is important to be picking quality classes that matter, that teach you something, that offer you something that's going to translate later and help you in your career. So, you know, do spend time looking over what classes are available. What's the background of the people teaching them? What are their interests and what are they particularly good at and can share with you? So that's kind of the first step, is getting into the right courses and making sure you maximize your opportunities here while you're a student. And that could include things outside the department as well. You know, you have other electives you can choose that can also build your career track. Start building your portfolio early. Don't wait until your last semester to try to throw everything together that you're going to present. First of all, early on, as you've heard from several people, you should be looking for internships. And you need a portfolio even to apply for a lot of internships. So that's a good thing to start putting together. If you have a piece that you've created, you know, I know a lot of you did things in your 211 class, for example. Start saving those things. Building that over time. It's much easier to do that than it is to try and cram everything and find everything that you've done for the last 3 or 4 years at the last minute. And employers, honestly, and I say this, and it's probably something I'm going to get in trouble for later, but it's the truth, they don't look at your GPA. What do you think they look at?
Experience.
Absolutely. They want to know what you can do. What have you done? What can you do for me? When you go in there, that employer wants to know what you can do for him or her. I mean, I'm not saying that you should try to get out of here with the lowest GPA possible, but having a 4.0 versus a 3.3 or a 3.6 or even a 2.6, if you're a really good writer and you have a really awesome portfolio and lots of experience, you're going to have a leg up in the work environment over somebody with a high GPA and no experience. Now, I say that when we're talking about careers. If you're intent on going to graduate school, obviously you need to be concerned with your GPA because there are certain requirements for getting into graduate programs and scholarships and some of those kinds of things. So I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all. I'm saying your focus needs to be on creating a wide variety of experiences, including good coursework and decent grades in your courses. But I've seen all gamuts. You know, I've seen students who have 4.0 and no experience whatsoever, and they can't find jobs. I've seen students who slid by barely with a minimum GPA, but who had portfolios like this, and they're working in national agencies around the country. So it really is about diversifying, not concentrating on one little thing. Networking. You hear a lot about that, but what does that mean? What is networking? It means every time you go anywhere where there are professional people in a field that you may want to work in, introduce yourself, get business cards, make sure they remember you. Think of something to tell about yourself that's going to create a memory in that person's mind that's going to stick with them, so that 6 months down the road when you're looking for an internship, you can say, remember, I'm that goofy lady who talks about raccoons coming in through her dog door, and they'll remember that. So something, it doesn't even necessarily have to be anything to do with your career path, something's going to help them remember you, so that when you contact them later, they know, oh yeah, she was at that event. She's a student, she's this, and da-da-da. And start doing that as often as you can. Volunteer for things, you know, show up, be at places so your face gets to be familiar, and get to know as many people as you possibly can. Because more jobs are gotten by somebody telling you about a job before it's ever posted anywhere, before it's ever listed. Nobody else knows about it, and you know they're looking for whatever that particular thing is, and you're right there. Hey, I'm interested. I'm almost ready to graduate, or I really want an internship with you this summer. And if you really want that internship or that job, learn something about that company. Know something before you walk in there about their company, because they want to know you really want this job, not just a job. You want to work for me. Internships can be gotten in lots of different ways. One way is if you go to our department website, homepage, on the very bottom it says internships and jobs. We update that often, all the time. People are sending in information that they're looking for people, whether it's for an internship. Some are paid, some are not. And you can decide. A lot of times your first internship may not be paid, but it's still worth doing it, because then you have professional work experience you can share. We get links all the time. This one in particular, we'll see if it opens quickly. These are all professional newspaper internships around the country. Wow. There's a lot going on there.
And I don't know whether we're actually going to see anything. Apparently not.
Okay, well, you just have to take my word for it that there's some really cool internships on that link. And if you email me, I'd be happy to send them to you. But it's a list about this long. So it's probably 20 openings for internships around the country at various newspapers, and they're looking for writing, photography, editing, layout and design, all kinds of things. And oftentimes people look at those and say, oh, Washington Post, well, I'll never get that. You don't know that. It's just like a lot of scholarships that never get applied for. We've had students go to some really big places. Several have gone to the Boston Globe. We have a student working at the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. We have a student at the Washington Post. So lots of things happen if you just take a few minutes and send off and apply for them. The New York Times offers an internship this summer. Get this, they pay $1,000 a week. A week. Yeah, that's more than I make. I mean, I want to go be an internship with the New York Times, you know? But it costs a lot of money to live in New York. It's a prestigious internship, obviously, but a lot of them pay fairly well for some of those big internships that nobody ever bothers to apply for. So don't give up. And then you can also just go out and find your own. If you know a company you really want to work for, contact that company and say, hey, I'm really interested in coming to, spend some time, learn about your organization, hone my skills. Here's what I can offer you right now. And most of them will be happy to take you on, especially if they know you're going to work and not be more of an issue for them. You're going to actually contribute something as opposed to just pulling their resources from them. So don't be shy about going out and asking people if you could be an intern for them. Most people will be flattered, if nothing else, that you want to come to work there. So are we going to do questions at the end after all of this? Why don't we do it that way? We'll do all the presentations and those. So if you have questions, hold your questions, and we'll get to in just a few minutes.
While we're switching microphones, will you guys pass those little slips to the end there and I'll try and pick them up?
Okay, next is Cindy Christian, and she's going to be talking about public relations, everything you always wanted to know and more, and probably some good stories. Or I can tell stories about you if you want.
I bet you I have better ones about you. Welcome. It's great to look around and see so many familiar faces. I suspect a lot of you have heard some of the advice I've given, but delighted to share it with you, to remind you, and to open up some new ideas for the people I have yet to meet. Here to talk to you about work in public relations. And one of the obvious questions is, what is public relations? What would you say? A lot of people, okay, wow, round of applause. A lot of people equate it with media relations, you know, working with the media to plant positive publicity for your product or your company. But it really is much, much more. The overarching term we like to use for public relations is relationship management. We identify, we establish, we maintain the relationships with the key publics inside and outside the organization on which our success or failure depends. So it includes many, many duties related to that function. It includes researching, planning, implementing, and evaluating specific campaigns. It does involve media relations. Again, relationships management, relationships with the media, obtaining coverage for your client or your product. It includes writing and editing. I've seen a lot of people attracted to public relations who say, I'm going that way because I hate writing. Big mistake. You talk to professionals, the #1 skill they're going to say they want is a good writer. So writing, public speaking, event planning, social media management. That's good news for you. The people like me who are doing the hiring came up before that was popular. There are jobs for you in public relations. Managing issues, taking advantage of opportunities, proactively mitigating problems, reputation management. Adrian Peterson could use your help right now. Crisis management, how do you manage your company's response in a crisis situation? So all of those and many other duties within the broad umbrella of public relations. Where do we get the jobs? There's 5 main areas. Most of you going into the field are going to get jobs in a corporation or a firm. Now, used to be that corporations did most of the hiring. With the economic downturn, we've seen more of the work move to agencies. So the #1 employer is going to be a firm or agency, followed by corporations, nonprofits, government, and freelancers. The good news for us is every industry needs PR. Might go by a different name, but every industry needs PR. Sports, entertainment, politics, engineering, science, agriculture, business, you name it, they need you. So in terms of a field that is quite employable, we're doing quite well. We're in one of the highest categories as far as job opportunities and how fast they're developing. What skills do you need? One of the common misconceptions, the answer I usually get when I ask an entry-level class is, why are you going into PR? I really like people. Well, that's important, but that's not going to get you the job. Again, good writing and editing skills. Most of you are going to enter the field as technicians. You have to be able to write and edit effectively. Graphic design, to be able to design print documents, new technology, websites, social media. Also, business. Because as you evolve into the field, you're going to be managing these groups. You're going to be managing these campaign implementations. So having the skills to manage resources, budget, schedule, human resources is a strong skill. If you talk to industry professionals, next to writing and editing, probably the two things they're going to say, new technology and business. We're evolving as a field, and I'm sure Kim would agree with this also. The days in which you could go into public relations or reporting as a print journalist or just a TV person are gone. So as a public relations person, as a writer, you need to be multimedia proficient. You need to not only be able to write that press release, you need to be able to shoot video, you need to be able to take and manipulate photos, you need to be able to throw up a website, you need to be able to plan a social media strategy, and you need to know the analytics to evaluate your online impact. So be multimedia proficient. As I said a second ago, the people doing the hiring are people like me who came into the field before those skills were important. There is a job for you if you go to the effort to be multimedia proficient. Another thing about the field is that it is evolving. You know, in the past decades we would call it public relations, but how many of you have heard the term strategic communication or integrated marketing communication? So we're not only evolving in terms of being multimedia proficient, we're evolving in terms of roping in not only public relations, but advertising and marketing. So as you're planning your coursework in this department, there's some obvious classes you're going to want to take. PR principles, PR writing, digital promotion management, campaigns are all classes you want to take. Take the advertising creativity class. Take the media planning, media buying class. Minor in business and take the marketing and management classes. You can get into those two classes without minoring. That will give you that strategic communication grounding that will make you more marketable as a professional when you finish. Another recommendation as far as courses, make that minor matter. If not business, consider minoring in your applied field of interest. So what I mean by that is you'll come out with not only the good writing and multimedia skills, but then you'll have the minor in natural resources, agriculture, political science, whatever it is. So, you know, be strategic in how you use your option area or minor. The good news about our field is what you do in college matters. That's not true for every communication field. For example, if you were going into advertising creativity, your bachelor's degree is just the starting point. You're probably going to go another couple of years to work on your book before you can actually start applying for advertising creative jobs. What you do in school matters in public relations. So get involved now. I want to strongly agree with Kim in terms of the value of internships. To be competitive, start early and get them often. Now you might be saying there, wait, I'm just starting. I've only taken the principles class. Well, then get an entry-level internship. Manage the media archives or something. As you advance in your studies, strive for higher, more visible, more senior positions, and then make that last internship where you'd like to work. It will stand out on your resume, and if you're good, they'll hire you when you graduate. So multiple internships, start early. Campus media. Campus media. The Collegian, College Avenue, CTV, KCSU. Know the media from the media side. Hopefully I've conveyed the idea that public relations is more than media relations, but nonetheless, media relations is still an important function within our broader field. So if you can say that you know the media from the media side, you have some clips or some newspaper clips or some audio clips from your work with campus media, that's going to make you a very strong contender for a position. Other extracurricular. A lot of you involved in other student organizations, sororities, fraternities. ASCSU has a designated public relations person. Your other student orgs can use your help, whether it's an official internship or just volunteering. And of course, the Public Relations to Students Society of America. We have a very active chapter here at CSU, very successful, with its own student-run public relations firm. Get involved. And not only just show up at meetings, make it an active membership. Work with clients through RAM PR. Run for office. Volunteer for their other activities. And as Kim said, and I again agree strongly, save everything. Save the work you do for RAM PR. Save the work you do for those student orgs. Save the clippings from campus media. Save everything. You'll have a really dynamic portfolio and resume. Another class I teach is the capstone class, and I'm always sort of touched by how humble most students are. But when you get to the point where you're preparing that portfolio, and especially that resume, is never apologize for yourself. Pitch your strengths. Believe that you have something to offer. Because you do. Because you do. Pitch your strengths. Another thing is frame yourself as a professional, not a student. When I'm teaching the capstone, I'll get these cover letter assignments, and they're all talking about their schoolwork. It's like they're not interested in that. They want to know your skills and experience relevant to the job. Pitch your strengths, frame yourself as a professional, tell them what you bring to the table. In line with the theme that what you do in school matters, I'm going to share an example that will be familiar to some of you because it's one of my favorites. It's a student I worked with at Iowa State before I came here to CSU. Her name was Jackie Songara. She was a public relations major there. She got involved in PRSSA as a freshman. By her sophomore year, she had an office. By her junior year, she was the chapter president. By her senior year, she was a national president, or vice president. She had internships every year of her career in college. Her last one was with the highest ranking civilian at the Pentagon. When Jackie graduated, she beat out 700 applicants for a job that required 5 years of experience. So I really want to emphasize that when PR leaves, what you do in school matters. It's scary right now, and probably most of you are sitting there thinking, I'll take anything. No. Get selfish. Here's where I want to work. Here's what I want to do. Go make it happen. The job's out there. Why not you? So, how do I line it up? There are a lot of listings that are popular. A popular one in Denver area is Andrew Hudson's job list. PRSSA membership comes with an access to their job database. We certainly have the department and career. There's the big ones like monster.com and stuff. But the problem with that is you and 500 other people are accessing the same notice. So I really like what Kim said as far as networking and making your own great. Network, network, network. Network with your parents, your social contacts, each other, your professors. One thing that's cool about this department is we won't hire anyone who doesn't have extensive professional experience. Network with them. Get involved in PRSSA. Go to the monthly meetings down in Denver. Introduce yourself. Collect business cards. I really recommend informational interviews. That means you're going to call up the people you know, do interesting work that you're interested in. You're not hitting them up for your job. You're just saying, hey, I'd like an hour of your time. I'm interested in getting involved in this field. Tell me, do you have time? Tell me how you got involved. What is your daily duties like? What are you looking for in new employees? Any advice for someone like me who wants to get involved in the same area of work? You're not only educating yourself, but you're building your network, and when they're looking for someone, they're going to remember that sharp student who came and talked to them for an hour a couple months ago. So network, network, network. Also, cold call. I really mean it. Separate, rather than going to the central job listings, you decide what city you want to work with. You develop your short list of places. There's places to go. Go to the Chamber of Commerce directory. Go to the PRSA business listing. Develop your short list, and if you're not afraid to pick up the phone, ask who's the person in charge of public relations at your company. And get passed along and mention their name. Oh, Kim Spencer told me to call you. Get passed along. You don't just want to go through human resources. What you want is the person making the decision walking down the aisle with your resume as human resources is walking up the aisle. So make your own luck. Don't say, I'll take anything. Say, here's the job I want. Go get it. One final story, and this is an alum of this program who followed this strategy. His name was J.D. McCartney, and he was a public relations student. While he was still here, he cold called HP. He said, I'd like to come in as a PR intern. Oh, we don't have interns. He said, let me come in for free. I'll show you what I can do. Within a very short time, he had proven his worth. They created a job with him. He eventually graduated, went into work for himself. He has his own PR firm, and a few years ago, he was named CSU's Alumni of the Decade. Not just JTC, CSU's Alumni of the Decade. His firm's ads run in Times Square in New York. And he got there starting by cold calling the place and creating his own luck. So acquire the skills, acquire the experience, network, identify your ideal job, make it happen. The sky's the limit. Thank you. Now let me introduce Marilee Long, who is going to talk about science communication.
A small pause while we figure out how to fix something.
Okay, start pushing buttons.
Okay, so I'm Marilee Long, and I've been here a long time. And I'm here to talk to you about a number of specialized areas. So, science, environment, health, ag, thank you, I knew there was another one. And thinking about that as a place where you can find some jobs as well, because there are lots of opportunities in these areas, and the nifty thing about this is you can often be involved in a topic that you really like. So you want to make a difference in the world, you can certainly do it in a number of ways, and one of those ways is to deal with complex topics and explaining complex information to other people. So along that lines, what people in science communication or health communication or environmental communication or ag communication do is they're jacks of all trades. They do everything. They could be the only person in the office that does the communication. Where's our communication department? It's me. You do everything. So you want to know a lot. Well, and it helps if the well isn't too bad. And when I mean a jack of all trades, what I mean is that while you're at CSU, you're going to learn how to write and edit, and you're going to learn how to use visual communication, video. You're going to learn about PR, especially how to spell it. You're going to learn how to pick a better pen. Oh, this one's better. Well, and it does.
It's not the pen, Marilee.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I need to slow down. Big thing you're going to learn is targeting audiences. Because that's what you do a lot in science communication, health communication, environmental communication, ag communication. Because different people need different information. So, what's the big thing going on in the world right now? It starts with an E and has 3 syllables. Ebola. Okay, so, yeah, and it's big, as, you know, and it's a little scary. So, a person who's going to deal with that from a health communication standpoint is going to have to communicate with experts, so expert to expert communication, as well as expert to lay, and different kinds of lay audiences. So you're not going to give the same message to a parent that you're going to give to a kid that you're going to give to the head of Larimer County Department of Health. And when the Larimer County Department of Health woman, whose name,
Jane Bisty.
yeah, but I was thinking of the head person. But Jane Vista is the director of communication, so I'll go with that. She's talking to all of the doctors in Larimer County and the emergency rooms about what they need to do to protect their healthcare workers. She's going to use a different message, and there's going to be a different level of knowledge being portrayed or conveyed. So, really, this is a huge thing you need to learn. I don't care what job you have. One of the things that you can learn at CSU in our department that distinguishes you from other students in other programs is that you know how to target an audience. Oh, you need to know this. You don't need to know all this stuff. You need to know this. And I then have to figure out how to convey that information to you. Should I give it to you as a website? Should I call you up on the phone and talk to you that way? Should I meet you face to face? Do I need to provide a brochure? What is the best way to get the information to you, and how in the heck are you going to use it? I know that too. So when I learn about targeting that audience, I also learn about the best way to get the information to them, given what they're going to do with that information. And that works in PR, that works in newspapers, that works everywhere. If you can walk in and when you're doing the job interview and they say, so what would you do in this kind of a situation? And you're like, okay, who's the audience? What do they need to know? What are the decisions they're going to make? How do I get that information to them? If you can pull that off, that makes a big difference. That makes an impression. And the classes that you take at CSU can help you to do that. That's why we have you take a variety of classes. You have a whole lot of choice. That's good. It's also a little like, well, criminy, which decisions do I make? But think about, you want to be a jack of all trades. You want to be able to do a lot of different things. Tell the story visually. Tell the story in writing. Tell the story by speaking it. All of those ways, and that'll help you. Because you're not quite sure what the company you're applying for is going to need. And when you're in science, health, environment, and ag communication, they want you to be able to do it all. And do it all in about 10 minutes, perfectly. And you will. You can do it. It's a little scary, but you can get in there. It's like, okay, I'm outside my comfort zone, but I can get this done. And one of the ways that you make sure that that happens, like Kim and Cindy have said, is internships. They're key. It doesn't exactly matter where they are. My first internship was at a newspaper. I wanted to be, my goal in life was to be public information officer for in natural resources, like with the U.S. Forest Service. That was my plan. Yes. So my first job is an internship at a newspaper. It has nothing, absolutely nothing. I never wrote anything about natural resources. I did write a great story about the most popular Halloween mask in the town where the paper was.
Well, what was it?
Man, I don't remember. I wrote a great story about the anniversary of the beginning of the Depression. Nothing to do with natural resources. But I knew how to write, I learned how to interview, I knew how to tell a story. My second internship was got a little closer to natural resources, and I worked at an energy company. But I worked in internal communications. I didn't plan to work in internal communications. And the company was moving that summer. So I spent the summer writing stories, trying to convince the people in the company that really, we all want to move 30 miles down the road to another part of Denver, and everyone will love it. And most of the people were like, I like where we are, I like where we live. So we made up contests. We had a Name the Pond contest. Because we were trying to get people excited about, we're moving. I wrote the bazillion Employee of the Month stories. You want to know how to write a employment story, call me. I've done it many places. But you're telling a story. And it's kind of cool because you learned about all these other things that people did. But I've written retirement stories. I've written stories that had nothing to do with what I ultimately got my first big job at, which was I was a writer-editor at an aerospace and engineering company. Now you will notice this has nothing to do with natural resources. Be flexible. Okay? I never in a million years thought I wanted to work at an aerospace engineering company. But when I went out of school, that's where the job was, and I got great experience. And in 4 years, 3.5 years, I went from just being a writer-editor to being a senior writer-editor and having projects that I was doing myself. And I started at 22. And a lot of people ahead of me, above me, were a lot older. But I had the experience, so they had to listen to me. I did all that, and then I went on to another job. So, be a little flexible. What I was doing was conveying complex information, which is ultimately what I like to do. I like to figure out how to take something that's confusing, something that's difficult to understand, and convey it to different audiences. And so I can do that in a whole lot of different venues. Science, environment, ag, engineering, aerospace, economics, political science, history, you name it. And that's, I can get to 8 at the moment. There are lots of places where you can do that. So now you've got more job opportunities. But to have those, you need to internships will help a lot. And they don't have to be in those places. And the other thing that internships tell you is what you may not ever want to do again. I never went back to work in a newspaper. Because I realized I don't really like it. But when I first started in journalism, that's what I thought I wanted to be. And so the internship told me, bad plan. Try something else. The second job gave me a little bit more idea what I wanted to do. But think of it that way too. You're not only trying on, they're trying you out, but you're trying out, do you like that kind of work? I found out that I really don't like to call people up and ask them to tell me their life stories, as much as I thought I did. I like to fix stories. I like to tell stories and I like to fix them. I love to edit. So I need to be in a place where that's what I get to do. And those internships help me to figure that out. Those combined with the classes that I had. So if you want jobs in science, environment, health, ag, they're out there. They can be a little challenging to find because a lot of times they're a little bit hidden sometimes from the standpoint of you may be there may be one comm person and they may not even call you the comm person. But there are organizations that you could look at. Okay, so I'm going to give you some names of some organizations that will help. One is called the National Association of Science Writers, and their website is amazingly nasw.org. They are a national organization. I've been a member of them for a long time. They do a lot with students. They'll do mentorships. They will bring you to national meetings. They will help to hook you up with people who are doing the kinds of jobs you want to do. They have job listings. And as a student, it's cheaper to join. So they give you a cut, and they give you a break on how much it costs. There's also the Society for Environmental Journalists, and it's probably .org, but I'm not positive. They also are going to be another place where you want to find out who's doing what you want to do, make those connections, check them out. Another one is the Society for Technical Communication. There is a very active Rocky Mountain chapter, so this is one of these organizations. We don't have a local Colorado chapter of these two guys. I know we don't have this, I'm pretty sure we don't have that. We do, the Society for Technical Communication. And when you see technical, think science, health, environment, ag, all of those things fit in there. So that's another place. Go to their websites. Find out what people do. Go to their meetings. Network, like Cindy and Kim have said. Shadow them. Find out what they do. Do the informational interviews to make sure it's the place you want to be. And while you're still here, pick up classes that will help you to be this jack of all trades. So that you know video. You may not know everything about it, but you're not going, what is that thing sitting there? It's like, you can fake it through. Enough that then you're going to learn it when you go home that night. Okay? That's all you really got to do. And you learn it, and you're good. And the next day, you're better at it. Learn how to write. Learn how to edit. Learn how to edit other people's writing. Because another thing that you can show as a value added is you can help other people be better at what they do. And in science communication, you will be working with a lot of folks who could be very nervous about communicating, and in health communication as well, and even in ag, where they're dealing with issues that they're not sure how to deal with them. And they're like, what do I say? I don't know what to do. And you can help them. You can help them practice. You can help them become communicators. Help them explain complex topics. That, in other words, you can be a teacher as part of the jobs that you have. And if you like that, that's a great fit for you. And then finally, the last thing you also want to be sure you pick up is public relations, strategic communication, because you're going to be doing those at these organizations as well. And you're going to want to have background knowledge in the topic area. So I said I did, my goal was to be public information officer for the National Park Service, or no, Forest Service, that's what I said. I had, you have to do your concentration. Mine was in natural resources. And I just put together a bunch of classes because they didn't have a minor, and I took them. And I had more understanding because of that. So in the area of science, health, ag, environmental, picking up a content area that then helps you to know the topics there, that sort of thing will help you. And we've got great colleges at this university that you can take classes in. And that's the end. My ending wasn't good.
Okay, so we just have like a few minutes left. I will be emailing you all email addresses, so if you do have like questions for any of our specific panelists, you can always email and ask them. Does anybody have anything like pressing at the moment you want to ask any of our panelists?
I'm graduating in May, and I'm kind of undecided on like if I should go straight into work or to grad school after graduation. And all I really want to do is like writing stuff or anyone really. I prepared a major with the intent of working for like entertainment or something like that. So I don't know, like would grad school be a wise investment for like career goals that I have, or graduation?
Nah, I wouldn't go.
We're a field that values practical experience.
Okay.
So I would say you would be better served by going to work and getting some experience and examples under your belt. If you do go on to grad school down the road, then you have a better sense of why this matters.
We have courses that can help you in terms of technical and science writing. So we have 461, our health, environment, and science course. I can't remember what the exact title of it is. We offer from time to time technical writing, technical editing, and other courses that I think that could really make a contribution to developing a very productive career. So if you're interested in digital promotion, I'd like you to think about some of the courses that are listed on the front side, on the organizational side of the sheet, and to think about how that might fit with your career plans. The faculty in public relations and advertising and other areas on the floor are very open if you want to come in and have a conversation about what some of the career opportunities are. They would really be glad to help you. In closing, I just want to share a couple of ideas. As a person who's going out into the field, you want to be well anchored in terms of some professional connection, understanding the culture, the kind of organization that you might get hired into. You don't want to be too specialized, however. You want to have some versatility. So one of the important ideas that I would stress is this notion of synergy. You want to know a little bit about traditional media, but you also want to know about digital media, and you want to know how they work together. If you're interested in digital promotion, I think that's great. But 3 or 5 years down the road, the chances are, as you grow in your job responsibilities, you're going to probably have responsibility for both traditional media and for new media. So you want to take some time, I think, and take advantage of some of the things that you can learn here. As a student, I think you need to think about a couple of key things. Understanding the infrastructure of how our media system works, and that includes digital, how the internet works, how social networking sites work. You want to understand the genres of how people communicate and how we tell stories, because storytelling continues to be central to what we do. You want to understand how people use media and people's behaviors. So taking courses like media effects can be a very useful tool in terms of your being a really effective professional. And the last thing you want to do is you want to think about professional values. and what are the things that you want to bring to the table. You're going to want to understand the politics of how our modern media system works, or what we might want to call the political economy of the media, but law and ethics, because they are also important because they play a really critical role in how we make decisions professionally. So I hope that you'll consider digital promotion as an opportunity. There are many other opportunities within the department, and I have our two colleagues who are going to share about. Danny, you're going next. Yep. Danny Castillo.
Yeah. Okay, so Kirk talked to you about all sorts of very, very relevant career paths that you can take. My field's a little bit more technical. I have previously, well, I've been teaching 211 for a while, and I have taught, don't die, Kirk, sorry, JTC 372, which is web design, and I also teach JTC 481, soon to be 417, which is information graphics design and production. It's so I focus what I want to talk to you about today about this information graphics and data visualization, because it's an emerging field in careers in journalism. And I think that is a fantastic opportunity for people who are a little bit more technically minded. But even if you're not, or you think you're not technically minded, maybe you are. It's kind of like brain surgery. Brain surgeons don't just wake up one day and know how to operate on brains, right? They get very specialized training, and then they get really, really good at what they do. So in addition to the standard web jobs, so either web design or web content production, which are fantastic, and there are lots of job positions there, there are also some emerging fields in data journalism and data visualization. And this is what I want to talk to you about a little bit, because I have been scouring the job boards out there, and more jobs are popping up with this. So what do you need to know about this? Well, data journalism is a type of journalism that deals with lots of information. And not just lots of information, but how to make this information accessible to everybody, all right? So how to make massive amounts of data, numbers. If you get hit with a thick spreadsheet of, you know, environmental blah, blah, blahs, how do you make somebody see this and understand and relate to the story? So you learn a lot about this in your journalism classes, you know, how to make people relate to the story. But how do you also make them understand this really complex set of data? Well, data journalists are doing this, and data visualization specialists are doing this. It's not exactly the same thing. Data journalists can still write a lot of information, and it's still very much words. Data visualization specialists, journalists, are more into the visual side of it. That's what I'm into. But there are lots of jobs that blend these two pieces together. Let me show you this, because I just wanted to show you some things here that I found. Don't mind my bazillion tabs. I collect tabs. So what does a data viz specialist do? Well, they might get a lot of information about the nation well-being based on a ton of different points, data points like learning, stress, happiness, depression. And then you can go and create a little map that does this. So how do you do this? Well, you do it by learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and other JavaScript libraries. It sounds pretty overwhelming, but it's actually pretty easy. It's very logical. It's something that is very, very logical. And once you start being able to do this, it suddenly all clicks and makes sense. I've taught web design for over 12 years, and I've taught HTML from scratch, CSS from scratch, and there's this uphill battle, and then I get the aha moments. And it's really weird, because suddenly everybody gets really good suddenly. It's like, whoa, okay, now they understand the logic behind it. They added, you know, the extra JavaScript stuff to this, but you know what? There are tons and tons of resources that are there for you, and most of them are free, or you already have access to that. I want to show you some sample jobs The first one is for an Atlanta newspaper. The second one, I believe, is also for the Atlanta newspaper. And Bloomberg in the UK actually has a similar database. The Bloomberg one that I'm about to show you here is a little bit for more experienced data visualization people, but everybody requires journalism as their main degree. And if you can manage to do journalism and focus a little bit on the technical website of it, you can get some fantastic jobs. Some starting salaries are out there like $65,000. I was like, ugh. So it might actually really, really pay off to take that extra time and learn the stuff that you think that you're not very good at, or that you think that it's too hard or too technical. It's no longer that. And besides, there are lots and lots of libraries with pre-made things and tools that you can use to create this type of information without having to code every single thing from scratch. This is the Bloomberg one. This is the one I want. Oh, it's in New York, sorry. I saw another one for UK the other day. But this is where it's at. Right there. Those are the skills. CSS, HTML, XML, HTML5, jQuery, JavaScript. So don't tell anybody, but there might be a workshop next semester on coding. I may or may not have heard from somebody that allowed me to do that for next year. We're going to learn some JavaScript and some coding for journalists. So stay tuned for that. We'll send out an email. I think it's almost like a done deal. I was allowed to say this today, so. What other classes can you take that could be very helpful? Any and every class, of course, you need to understand how people see data, how people read news, how people understand news, what sticks to them. So it's not just about the technical stuff, but you also need to know how to write. You also need to understand how to extract and summarize very complex information and put it into terms that anybody will understand. And then, of course, you need to learn how to put it online in a way that is going to function across platforms, that is responsive, that is going to be visible in every single device. So there are all sorts of little pieces to this. So online writing and journalism right there, 417, which is the infographics design and production, which deals with the static part, but we do talk about interactivity a little bit. We also talk about motion graphics for infographics. Have you guys ever seen those videos of did you know, with the little dudes? Yeah. Income inequality with graphs and charts flying around. It's an animation. It's not interactive. It's just an animation. Lots of money to be made there. Great careers right there. They do those with After Effects. Web design and management, 372. That is a great class to take. So if you haven't taken that, put that on your list. Because you learn HTML and CSS, which are the absolute basic building blocks for this type of career path. New communication technologies in society. Of course, you need to learn about this. Not just the technical side, you also need to learn the why. That's what makes the difference between you and Joe Schmo who goes on to Linda and learns how to code. Because you come with this huge set of information on why you're doing these things, not just how to do them. Okay? And of course, there are a lot of basic JavaScript classes. There's some in computer sciences that you can take. And so it would be something about like looking at it. I don't know how it works with advising, but I'm just saying graphic design classes, the why. Pay attention in 211. I know that I have like 2 people here in 211. 211 is actually a really important class for this type of stuff, believe it or not. Everybody goes into that class like, oh my God, I have to take it. But trust me, it's basic. And of course, lynda.com, you have it free. They have a ton of JavaScript classes. They have D3 JavaScript library classes, which are the specific data visualization ones. Learn HTML, CSS, etc. So lynda.com is a resource that you currently have. Do not underestimate it. I know that some of you have to watch some lynda.com tutorials because instructors let you give you that as a homework. Just make sure that go look for the things that you are interested in and go get those certificates before you graduate. Because when you graduate, you no longer have access to Lynda. I turn you off at the end of the semester when you graduate. That's my job too. But yeah, just make sure you take advantage of lynda.com. It is a fantastic, fantastic resource. If somebody wants access and doesn't have access, contact me. Okay? So it's really easy to find me, and I will hook you up. Networking. That's another thing. How do you get your foot in the door on this thing? There's a meetup group called Fort Collins Internet Pros. They meet, I don't know, once a month, and they talk about all things techie and webby and things like that. They meet at Fort Collins Brewery most of the time. And they usually have munchies for free. Really good ones, too. Local chapter of ONA, Online News Association. We are starting one of these here in the JTC department. A couple of us faculty members and students are starting as a chapter. You guys can join as students. Basically, we're going to be talking about all things geeky and data visualization and online journalism, news hacking. That's what we're going to be talking about, news hacking. So, for example, how do you scrape Twitter to see how many oil spills have been happening, you know, things like that. So that's one of them. Start your own chapter of something. Start a get-together group of to talk about technical stuff. GitHub, student media, join student media. We're going to involve them in the ONA thing. Go to workshops and career events. Introduce yourself. Get yourself a business card. Make yourself available and present. Don't, you know, as journalists, the cool thing that we have, you know, you also always get that idea, you know, that people that are very, very tech savvy are usually like very shy or very geeky or something. We're not. Seriously, we're not. I'm like, hi, I want to work for you. Give me a job. That's kind of like what I do, and it works. So being a reporter gets your foot in the door. Tips, stay current. Update skills often, because everything I told you right now about is probably out of date already. Yeah? It's just the nature of the beast. Create samples, play with things, create little samples, make a website for your samples, put them up there so you can show them to people, so you can share them. Data visualizations are one of those little things that can go viral really easily if it's well done, if you post it in the right places and, you know, sprinkle it where it should be. Create an online presence, join groups, developer groups, things like that, and make it easy for potential employers to see your spiffy samples. Make them nice. Remember all the cool things that you do for tech, but also remember where you come from. Remember that it's all about the, you know, trustworthiness of the information, that your sources are solid. You're not just creating pretty things, you're creating pretty valuable things. And that's where it's at, I'm telling you. Lots and lots of jobs in that field right now. I don't know, I maybe talked about something that I wasn't supposed to today. Is that okay? Yeah? Because I was supposed to talk about web design, but he covered that, so. All right, that's all I got.
In terms of video opportunities, and this will be repetitive for some of you who have had me in classes because I kind of preach this almost on a daily basis, but I think it's important. And for those of you who might be sitting on the fence thinking, maybe I want to dabble a little bit more in video than I am, hopefully it's pertinent to you as well. No matter what it is you're doing, whether you're interested in PR, web, whatever it is, video has become a bigger and bigger player for you. The Denver Post just launched their television operation a couple of days ago. Those are print people who are now doing a television newscast sort of thing. So it's out there, it's happening, it's going to continue to happen. So have an awareness of video. I'll preach that from the video side of stuff, just like you need an awareness of what's going on in the worlds that Kirk and Danny just talked about. So do both of those. As well. But here are some of the areas that we've traditionally looked at for video. A lot of you already know about this. This is kind of an alteration of a capstone presentation I just did a couple weeks ago, changed it up a little bit for this. But basically these areas: television news production, live event production, corporate video production, institutional, government, and video resource for other media efforts. So a lot of different possibilities out there in terms of jobs. In terms of career possibilities, producing, writing, field production, editing, graphics, engineering, social media, sales and related fields, or all of the above. And so it's a good idea to be able to at least talk the talk in all of those areas, or know what they're about, even if you think you want to hone in on one aspect of it. Understand how broadcasting, how video work works all across the board. Like anything else, the jobs that you guys are applying for, it's a business. In almost all cases, you're going to be working for a business, a lot of bottom line stuff. So understand the economics of it, the business side of it. Yes, we're all artists and we're making great projects and products, but we also have to understand that there's a cost associated with everything that we do. They're paying us to do those things, so have an awareness of that as well. Skill set, Convergence, multi-skilled, everything that we give you here in this department, and take advantage of all of it. But certainly you have to be good in writing, shooting, editing, producing, management, business, and communication in general. If you see something on that list that you think I'm not as strong at, you still have a chance to get stronger in it. This is your chance over the next little bit here, so take advantage of that. So here's some of the key factors in launching your career once you're ready to graduate here. Certainly writing and producing, that solid technical background that we've talked about a lot today, you have to have that. So again, you have time to bone up on it. Awareness of the new technology, again, Danny just mentioned that. Internships, a huge, huge factor. It ties in with the networking and the things we're talking about here. If you haven't started down that road yet, you need to quickly. And what's the best way to do some of that in terms of internships and practicums? I think it's for you to come and knock on my door if you're interested in video, or Joe Champ's store, or Greg Luff's store. You're in an opportunity in your career to where you might be able to design what it is you want to do. You certainly can look out there and see what's available, and maybe it's some website, or maybe it's some video production company. It's something that you see and identify, and you say to yourself, I think I really want to do that. I don't want to do the traditional. I want to do something that I like. You can do that. You can kind of customize and direct your own career, possibly, if you do some investigating and build and work on those products. So don't look at just the things I've listed here. If there's some other aspect of this you really like, get inside of it, dissect it a little bit, figure out what it is, and see if there's a way that you might be able to wedge yourself into that. And the big thing is, start today. I mean, absolutely start today based on what it is you're picking up now. And a lot of that is the classes we're talking about, and you see some common ones here. But get involved with student media. RAM Productions is the group that I work with on the live production end of things. Some of these classes you've seen already listed, but if you're on the video side, you should feel like you're hitting about 80 or 90% of those classes. You have a chance. Some of those don't come up all the time. Documentary video production, for example, only once a year. But you need to lay out your plan to make sure that you have that and have time to get to those classes that you see as key classes. What you don't want to happen, what we don't want to happen, what Dakota doesn't want to happen is you get to your senior year and you say, oh my goodness, I've got to take these classes and I can't take these classes. If you're interested in video, you need these classes. So make sure you've prioritized and arranged your schedule as far in advance as you can that you still have a chance to get those classes. You don't want to come up short because you're more worried about graduating. That's not a knock against the math department. I just hate to see you take a math class when you should be taking video production or corporate video production. In terms of actual jobs, and this one I did present to the capstone class, when you get to that point, and you should start that point really about a year in advance of graduating, or 6 months for sure. You can click on a lot of these websites and I'll make it available, or send me a note and I'll send it to you. You should be watching the job market, just like Danny showed you. Take a look at what those jobs are out there for a couple of reasons. One, it gives you a better feel of what's available. There may be something you didn't anticipate or know about. It also gives you a chance to start building your own resume. And in our case, in video, we always talk about the reel, our reel that we're putting all of our product on, whether we're in front of the camera, behind the camera, our editing, whatever our specialty is, or again, all of the above. It gives you a chance to see what it is they're looking for. And it's beyond experience. Everybody you're competing with for these jobs is coming out with virtually the same experience, but you may see something in that job description you didn't anticipate. It may be what you thought was a video job, but they want you to perhaps design a website. And if you have that sort of ability, that's something you want to make sure not only you know, but you're including in your resume, in your approach to them. So the more you look at these job opportunities, and these are really across the board, everything from journalism to production type jobs, the better prepared you will be when you're ready. Don't wait until you're just about to graduate and say, okay, I'm going to start looking at these links and these websites now. Be looking at them way in advance so you see what those job opportunities are. Where else do you look for and find out about jobs? LinkedIn, obviously a big one. Monster. Networking, students, professors, internship contacts. Again, that networking is a huge part of it. Use the resources you see here today. Walk in again and say, I think I want to do this. How do I get there? Do you know anybody there? What would you do if you were me, Steve? How would you design this thing? I really want to work for this particular company. How would you approach them? Would you call them? Would you send them something? And I'll give you my opinion. And then solicit lots of other opinions. When you leave my office, go down to Joe Champ's office and say, Joe, Steve just told me this, but I'm curious what you think about this approach. Is there a better idea, sort of thing? And get as much of that as you can and then kind of customize your own approach based on that. And in terms of starting today, heck, we've got an opportunity for those of you who are interested somewhat in the news end of things coming up here in about a week and a half. We're going down to this deal, and I'm actually driving the van, so I know we're going for sure. You can sign up for it. This is a chance to get some one-on-one feedback and information from somebody outside of our department. This is an interaction opportunity with professionals from all of the Denver TV stations are going to be gathered together to talk to college students about jobs, about what it is they're looking for in your skill set. So get some other people's advice too. Take advantage of that. That's going on right now, and these are some of the areas that they're going to be talking about, so it really can see it spans the whole visual and video storytelling sphere here in terms of topics and things like that. So get involved in that sort of thing. This is, again, just information on there. I can send you this later. And then probably your biggest resource, again, I think, are the people in this room. And don't be afraid to approach those people. Come talk to them and get some opinions on what it is you think that they could help you with. You know, ask them for help. Don't be shy about this. You're coming to a critical point in your careers. You're just about ready to launch yourself. And what we don't want you to do is to settle for a job that you don't want. Our goal is for you to find a job you're passionate about, that you're going to be thrilled to participating in. You could be at that job for the next 25, 30 years sort of thing. So yes, have we all taken jobs we maybe weren't as thrilled about for that first job or even second job? We eventually found our way to what we wanted. We want you guys to skip some of that agony if you can. Find that job that you want right out of the box. See it as a stepping stone to something else. It doesn't have to be the greatest job in the world. It just has to be a job that you think you will enjoy on a daily basis and develop your skills even further. So I know that Dakota wanted to leave a few minutes for questions and answers. I think we got about 5 or 6 minutes, Dakota. So.
Yeah, so do you all have, at this point with the professors here, do you have questions that you want to ask them? Classes, internships, careers? Go for it.
Go ahead, Blair.
Yeah, do you guys have a tentative list of which teachers are offering senior capstones for next spring?
I'll know soon.
Really?
Yeah,
It's on the website.
Greg's working on the schedule right now. Joe, I don't know whether you know yet or how the capstones are going to be.
Posted soon, it's not posted yet. Probably by next week, yes. We just don't quite have it down yet. It's almost done. Oh. Yeah, good question. So you guys have been doing like a lot of.
Whoa. Okay, here we go. We're not in the dark.
You should have disappeared.
You guys have been doing a lot of investment in the production areas, and I was wondering if there was any plans at some point incorporate like cinema cameras and color grading into glass or workshops or something like that.
Well, I can only give my opinion on it. I'd love to see us do that. I know every class that we add has a curriculum challenge to it in terms of getting it there. I think the closest we come to that sort of thing is Derek Swanson's advanced editing class. I know that's not directly what you're talking about, but I guess I would say if you have ideas for something like that, bring them to one of us so we're aware of it and we can pass that information on to Greg or Joe, who's currently our interim chair for this semester. But I'm not aware of one right now. I don't think we move that quickly. That doesn't mean, Eli, that you can't come to me and say, Steve, I want to design an independent study exactly what I'm talking about right here, and I want you to be involved in it. And I may not be the qualified one. I may pass the buck to Danny and say, actually, Danny can help you more on that, or Derek Swanson, or somebody else. But customize your approach. Yeah, we don't want to exclude that from this program. Find a way to pitch it to me, and we'll see if we can't run it down the road.